Leslie Kean and George Knapp have responded to the New York Times article that just dropped. I just made a video responding to it, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. But yeah, the highly anticipated New York Times article that is probably going to foreshadow what we're going to get out of the new report delivered to Congress. Basically try to debunk the UFO phenomenon, saying it's all trash or Chinese drones. Well, now we get a response from Leslie Kean, who co-wrote the original article that kick-started this whole thing. We've also got a response from George Knapp, a prominent journalist who also helped kickstart this whole thing long ago with his publication, his book on Skinwalker Ranch. So let's get into it just a little bit. This isn't going to be a super long video, but before I get too far, this is Cosmic Road, where I discuss UFOs and the paranormal. So please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and as I'm going through the story, please comment below and let me know what you think. Okay, Leslie Kean, who I'm a big fan of, she, not only is a great journalist, but she is very open-minded and has explored topics like near-death experiences. And the recent Netflix series about near-death experiences was actually based on her work. And she also broke the story, or helped break the story, about ATIP and the Pentagon's research into UFOs and the paranormal. So, a lot of respect for Leslie, and I was very curious what her response to Julian's new article on UFOs would be. So, I was combing through Twitter, waiting for her to respond, and sure enough, she did. And she says, very succinctly, "I'm getting a lot of questions about the New York Times story by Julian Barnes. I had nothing to do with this story. I'm just as surprised by it as so many others are." So she is completely distancing herself from the article. Now, I talked about this a little bit in the previous video where I said she probably wouldn't speak out against Julian. She probably wouldn't target and eviscerate a fellow New York Times writer. So this is as far as she's willing to go, and I totally respect that. But it is very clear that she is distancing herself completely from that article. I had nothing to do with the story, she says. I'm just as surprised by it as so many others are. Now, it's interesting that she's surprised. It's interesting that they didn't let her in on the contents of the new article, that she wasn't in the loop on that. I find that very perplexing. I don't know what the internal politics are at the New York Times, if because of her open-minded pursuit of the truth, that maybe she is some sort of pariah there. That's just me guessing. I have no knowledge of that, and that's probably not even true. But it is very interesting that they didn't even give her a heads up as to what the contents would be. So assuming that she is truthful in this and that she is indeed surprised by the contents of the article. And I tend to believe her. So, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think she is being honest about being surprised by the contents of the new article? Why do you think that she was not in the loop on that? Was that so as not to color Julian's coverage of the events as he saw it, or as he was instructed to report on it? What was going on there? So about that instruction, or that direction, and about the content specifically of the article, George Knapp has weighed in on this as well, and he has an interesting point. He's retweeting, pushing back strongly on this section of the New York Times piece. on January 12, 2022, I spoke with the patent holder of the image sensor. After both watching the gimbal video, I explained the theory noted below. He did not agree, nor do active duty aviators who use the system daily. And the theory is, another video known as gimbal shows an object that appears to be turning or spinning. Military officials now believe that that is the optics of the classified image sensor designed to help target weapons make the object appear like it is moving in a strange way. So, the patent holder of that sensor says, no, that's BS. That was one of the points in Julian's article that, his idea, his claim, is that the weird movement of that UFO, I'm not doing it very well, but you know what I'm talking about in the gimbal video when the UFO seems to rotate at a perplexing angle, which, would be impossible with, the aerodynamics that we understand. Also, of course, it wasn't leaving any exhaust. It was not, powered by any propulsion that we understand. So even if there was some sort of weird sensor anomaly, it still wouldn't explain the lack of propulsion. But that aside, let's just look at, this retweet from George Knapp and what the patent holder had to say about his own sensor, and that no, it was not misbehaving in this particular video. Indeed, the UFO was actually performing anomalously. So there you have it, Leslie Kean. Some say Kane. Is it Kean or Kane? I'm going to say Kean for now. Leslie Kean is distancing herself from the article, but in a very polite way. However, she says she is surprised by it, which means she was completely out of the loop on it, which is very interesting to me. And it's also very interesting that they didn't even reference her previous work in the article. John Greenwald has brought this up, and I had the same thought, and I'm sure many of y'all did as well. Why did the new article not reference existing articles by the New York Times that say wildly different things, talking about, Eric Davis saying that there are, non-human craft, and various other things. Why did the new article not reference those earlier articles, try to make sense of them, reconcile them, debunk them, whatever? They just didn't even mention them. So that's very perplexing. I'm not surprised that she wasn't in the loop on that, because I don't think if she had been if she had had any part in this new article, that those issues would have gone unaddressed. Anyway, so she's distancing herself from the article. We'll see if she has anything further to say. I'm sure she'll expound on that in some interviews at some point, although I'm not expecting her to come out strongly against Julian. I always want to say Julian Assange, but it's not Julian Assange. And on the other hand, we have George Knapp retweeting this point that the actual patent holder of the gimbal sensor says that the UFO, it wasn't the sensor itself that was causing the anomaly, which is the claim in Julian's new article. Now, in all of this, I'm reminded of Richard Dolan's point of a year or two ago, when he said, basically, don't become too attached to the Tic Tac video or the gimbal video or the Go Fast video, because if it is proven that these were man-made objects, that does not invalidate the rest of the body of evidence on UFOs, going back to Roswell and before. If any of these things were proven to be man-made, which they have not yet, if any of them were, do not become disillusioned by the phenomenon as a whole. But again, nobody has actually proven that these objects were man-made, and indeed, we don't even understand the physics by which they were operating. It's not like these are ships that are 10 or 20 or 30 years in advance. Many people believe that the military have, craft that are 30 years in advance of what we're seeing, and that may or may not be true, but we don't have the physics to support any of these maneuvers that these craft are doing and the ways that they are working. Unless the military has some entirely new physics at their disposal, which they do not, at least not coming from humans, then this stuff cannot be explained away so easily. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. That would be awesome. Also, smash that subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. And there are social media links below. I would love it if you would follow me on Facebook and Twitter and comment on my posts and even share them when I drop them on social media. That'd be groovy. Until next time, Cosmic Road out.